Hi, this is Steve. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review, and in this video we're going to be assembling Eaglemoss's Back to the Future Delorean. This is issue 21, and in issue 21 we're going to assemble the valve covers, we're going to be putting in the air conditioner compressor, and the fuel injectors. So with that, let's get started. Here's a magazine, and right away we start off with the table of contents. There's a lot to assemble with this issue, so the magazine is actually a little bit shorter. There's not as many articles in it. So drive time is our assembly part, production diary, and the time traveler's guide. And we have a preview of all the parts that are with this issue. And if you're a USA subscriber, head over to Eaglemoss. I put a link in the description below, and they'll be more than happy to get your subscription started up. With that, we'll move on here. We can see we have a lot of assembly going on here. We have several pages completing all the parts that are on the engine itself. And moving forward, then we have within the production diary, they do talk about the preview screening of the movie, which gave Hollywood a clue as to how successful Back to the Future is going to be. And lastly, an article about the Honeymooners. Marty sees as much repeated TV favorites on its debut transmission. So, and then they give us a preview of more parts we're going to install on the engine with issue 22. So I'll get the parts out and we'll assemble. Let's get started. Here's the bag of parts for issue 21. A lot going on here inside, so I'm going to take these out and we'll get a closer look. Here's a close-up of the parts. We have a right cylinder head cover, we have a left cylinder head cover, we have air compressor brackets, we have the air compressor rear and air compressor front, we have the air compressor connector, we have oil filler cap, and we have control pressure regulator. We have DM screws, AP screws, and FP screws. Let's get this party started. First step for assembling the engine with this issue, we're going to install the right cylinder head onto the top of the engine. And the right cylinder head, remember, it's just the plain one. It's not like the other one. The other one has that anomaly on top there. Okay, anomaly. That protrusion on top. In this case, here's our water pump, which identifies the front of the engine. We want to have this slope here going towards the back. So it's simply going to go, it's the left side, it's going to go on the left side of the engine here. Turn it over, and we're going to install FP screws. The FP screws are some of the largest screws that we've received so far from Eaglemoss, so we're going to put 2 of those in. Go ahead and get them started like I always do. There we go. That side's done. Next we install the control pressure regulator onto the right cylinder head. And in this case, the way we want to do it is we want to have that larger round part on this side here. Now it looks like the holes are a different size, but they aren't. They're the same size. So just make sure you follow the instructions and what they show you. So in this case, it just falls right down on there. We're going to install 2 AP screws. Turn that over. And we'll do one more. Once again, being careful I don't over tighten these and strip them out. Next I'm going to install the oil filler cap, and that is keyed in. You can see there's a little keyway here on the bottom. Will match. So we're not too concerned about that right away. We'll put an AP screw in on the bottom of that. We can get the AP screw started and make sure our keyway lines up just like that, and then we can tighten it down. Next we're going to assemble the compressor. Be using an AP screw again for that, and this simply inserts into the front of it. You can see we have a small alignment tab. It goes in just like that, and then our AP screw goes into the back side. So we make sure it's lined up and goes in the alignment tab. I had to open up this hole just a little bit so it goes more flush. Once I did that, it just kind of squeezed in there and held in tight. Then I can go ahead and put my AP screw in from the back side. Gonna hold it in place. Screw it in until I feel some resistance. It's tight. And there we go. We're going to assemble the air conditioning compressor, and we're going to mount these brackets to them. We're going to put one bracket on this assembly here and one bracket on the other one. So we start off with doing the bracket on this one first. And it looks like we want to have this tab on top, the bracket on the bottom. Flip this over, and this will just go just like that, down from the front on top, and we're going to put AP screws in for that. Make sure it lines up. And do the same on the other side. Nice and tight for that. Next we do the front of the compressor. Same thing, this is going to be on top, this tab here. And we'll simply line it up like we did the previous one. Just like that. 2 AP screws. Just like that. the other one started. And they are both tight. Now we grab our right valve cover and we're going to install this just like that on the back side here. And we'll continue to use AP screws for that. So mount that on there. Line up the other side. And we'll tighten this other side down. Same thing with the front of the compressor. It's going to go through the slot there and get lined up. 2 more AP screws. Squeeze that all together there. Put a screw in there. And one more here to line it up. Tighten that up, tighten the other side up. And there's our compressor, complete. Looks really good. Next we're going to install the right valve cover and compressor onto the top of the engine, and you'll note that you have an alignment tab here that corresponds with the hole on the front of the engine. We're going to use 2 FP screws for that. Just like that. Flip it over and put our screws in. Got one more to put in. And there we go. And we got one more step. We're going to mount this to the engine itself. So test fitting is very important with this before you install this. Go ahead and lubricate your holes as much as possible. Test fit these. Make sure that they go down all the way down and seat in there like it's supposed to, and there's no cracks and all that, so that looks really good. You may have to, I had to do this with mine, you may have to go ahead and take a needle file and remount the holes for mounting, and I just made the holes a little bit larger with a needle file. You could use a drill bit if you need to, but I think the needle file worked fine for me. I reamed those out because I want my screws when they go through this to turn freely so I can get them in there. The other thing is the outer edge here, just to remove some of the material and maybe some of the paint. I took a new X-Acto blade and I went around the edge and took some of the material off, so that way it does go down nice and easy onto those 2 points. The other thing you may want to do also is they do give us 3 of the DM screws. Set 2 of them aside and use one of them, and you're not going to reuse it. But what you're going to do is you're going to pre-thread where these screws go into. They don't go in very far onto these, so you're just going to take and pre-thread them. Let me zoom in a little closer, and by pre-threading them just like this without the cover on, the top cover, you're just going to screw them in and make sure they thread in there nice and easily. Okay, for both. Now let's assemble this. Go ahead and assemble this. I'm going to put some grease on the important areas. Right there and right there. I'm also going to throw some grease in here, around that and around that. Put that down on top. Make sure it goes down all the way, which it did. And like I said before, we're going to use 2 of the newer screws. The old one that we made our threads with, I'll put that aside and start off fresh with this. So they should thread in pretty nicely. And one more to do. There we go. Top of the engine is secure to the bottom of the engine. So with all that prep, it was necessary for this because they just would not go in otherwise. So reaming out the holes and lubricating everything and doing your pre-threads really helped to assemble this. And I almost forgot, we have one final step with this issue, and that is this hose needs to get installed onto this cap. If you'll see here, there's a little tab sticking out on the cap. This hose here needs to wrap around and get installed on that cap. So with the tweezers that they gave me, I'm going to give it a try with those tweezers. First time. Perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and super glue that off camera, but that should be great. Perfect. And that completes our build for issue 21. We pretty much have most of the engine completed in this case. Looks fantastic. We actually got to use the tweezers they gave us. It worked perfectly for that hose to hook that up. And she looks good, gorgeous. Look at the size and the detail of this engine. I can't tell you if this is screen accurate or not. I heard that it's not, but what does it matter? I mean, this is fantastic what they did with this engine. There's a lot of detail here, lots of intake, water hose and all that. All your accessories for the engine are all there. I mean, this is wow. And it's very heavy. Most of it is metal, so it's very firm. And you can see where our front axles get their drive from to drive all-wheel drive for the Delorean. So if you haven't done so already, USA subscribers, please subscribe to the Eaglemoss. Back to the Future DeLorean, I put a link in the description below, so they will hook you up and set you up with a subscription, so you'll get this. You can get monthly issues sent to you, 4 issues per month, and it's a great deal. I think you're going to be very happy to have this on your shelf. With that, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the like, and hit the bell for all updates. I need the subscribers, folks. Please, 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 please. That gets the word out and lets you know what's happening with my channel. So, with that, take good care of yourselves and happy modeling.